Great, welcome everybody to the closing ceremony of Sustainable Places 2020. The final session and culmination of a lot of work this year to put this event together. So that's great news. We're very happy with the results and outcome. I think we broke the internet. So the social media feeds over the last few days have been unbelievable. I do everyone disjustice by only showing these select few images here, but there have been many, and then many more posts and cross-posting and visualizations, everything. And that's one of the things we set out to do. So thanks for that. I would also say that we're very pleased that, and we showed this in the opening ceremony, you know, it would have been easier to skip this year. But we didn't. There was a lot of requests, and we've seen that there has been demand for this. So we're glad we're all here, especially a year like this. We've needed a platform to come together. We did it. So we're very happy to do that. By being virtual, we were in a very practical sense, more sustainable. We did save CO2. And in the opening ceremony, we said we were reaching 400 attendees. But my goodness, by the end of it, we've had 600 people register into this event and participate in your workshops. About 100 EU projects, 32 sessions and workshops, 4 excellent sponsorships, and presentations on the Green Deal, the new EU Bauhaus, and the Renovation Wave. So that's excellent. And I made a pitch during the opening ceremony of one of the things we can do, especially in a year like this one, is give each other support. Everybody needs a little extra support this year. So follow each other, keep this cross-posting up. Whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter or any other social media feed or in-person emails, you know, this is a community now that has grown that recommends each other for various things. So that's great to see, and let's keep that up. So with that, Regis, you can make Marco Caffi the presenter, and the order of march for this closing ceremony will be Marco Caffi. He'll talk to us about green building councils, and Andrea Costa will talk to us about launching innovative products on the market. We've learned some lessons on that. Then we'll have a talk from the European Commission. Pao will talk to us about the Renovation Wave and the new EU Bauhaus in a little bit more detail. And then we'll do some roll-up sessions from the workshop. So none of us could attend all the workshops because there were 5 parallel tracks for 3 or 4 days straight. So we'll hear from about 10 of those workshops just to tell you the main messages they'd like to convey to all the audience members. But with that overview of the closing ceremony, which will last between 90 minutes and 2 hours, we will now turn the floor to Marco Caffi. And he is the director of GBC Italia, which means as other people are elected through GBC Italia, he is the one person that is constant and holds it together across time. So he has a wealth of knowledge in that landscape. And over the past year, he has also been elected to be vice president of the European Regional Network of GBCs in WorldGBC for the European branch of that. And that is made of 27 green building councils across Europe, I think. Marco will brief this. And part of his talk is to let you know how this entire network is available to all of us in our research community and can be one of the best pathways to dissemination, communication, exploitation, standardization, and getting out to technicians and building skills to the professionals across Europe, because they're the ones that are making it happen out in the field. So with that introduction, Marco, please take us away for your presentation on the Green Building Councils.
So thank you, Thomas, for the presentation. Thanks for the invitation at these events. Thanks from GBC Italia and also from the World Green Building Council. And okay, so we are at the finish event of this big events that is Sustainable Places. So I go away speedily, and I want to share with you some of the strategy of World Green Building Council and in particular of the European Regional Network, in order to share with you how GBC, for us, could be a partner to share the innovation in different way in the sustainable, for the sustainable building environment. So the World Green Building Council that you said before is the most important, the largest organization in the world about green building. We have more than 36,000 members in about 70 nations. And our vision is sustainable buildings for everyone, everywhere. A very difficult and hard mission this. And to implement this mission, the WorldGBC start to last years to understand how sustainable goals are related to the sustainable environment. And we find 11 sustainable goals of the United Nations that are strongly related with the sustainable environment. And from those, we define 3 big pillars of our action. One is the climate action, the second is the health and well-being area, and the third is resources and circularity. Obviously, all these 3 pillars are related for the sustainable environment, built environment. And how we try and what we try to are effective in order to implement our action for the climate change reduction, the improvement of health and well-being, for example, in buildings. We have an impact pathways that are built by some specific action that are the collaboration action. All the GBC collaborate and try to organize collaboration between different stakeholders. We advocate, we also rate. We do action to rate buildings and communities and the sustainability of building and communities. We communicate, so we are organized to communicate action, impact, results, innovation. And we try to innovate also, participating to different innovating projects. And finally, we educate the community at the national level, at the international levels. And all of these action are done for each of our pillars at the national levels, but also at the international levels. That means at the continental or global levels. All these action involve our membership, that is about 36,000 in the world, and involve all the partnership organization. That means partnership that are involved in different kind of project with us. And all these actions are related to gain our North Star goals, that are the star goals that guide us for in every our action, that are for climate action, the total decarbonization of the built environment, for the health and well-being, the improvement of the health and the well-being inside the buildings, and for the resources and circularity, obviously increasing the capacity of the design and build circular buildings. And how we do this? We do by some specific project at the global level, at the regional level, at the national level. And you can see here some logo of some important project that we are doing. So I want to share with you some particular point of this project in order that you can catch some point of interest, and you can then maybe to contact the GBC of your nation, or the WorldGBC directly, or the European Regional Network for GBC, to try to understand how we can collaborate to do something in these different fields. And one of these global projects is about health and well-being, and the name is Better Place for People. You can see here the logo of the GBC that are working of this project. Is a project well participate from different green building councils. So innovating project that are working on health and well-being in building could also refer to this project, to the different GBC, to try to understand how we can collaborate. not only to develop the project and the activity specific for the project, but also to develop, for example, some results to participate for communicate the important result of different projects in this phase. This project is going ahead, and at the moment we produce a lot of report about the health and well-being in buildings and the benefit of the well-being in building. But also we start with recently with a campaign that is very interesting, is Plant a Sensor campaign, where we support organizations that want to install a sensor for monitoring the air quality inside the building and in the area external the building. And then we catch all the data of this from this sensor, and we share with all the community the data in order to understand how a building could improve the quality inside, or which kind of problem you can find in some buildings. Measure is the first way to then understand how act to improve the sector. And this is the roadmap of the project. As you can see, the project was started some years ago, but in 2020 it started to move forward. And for the 2 next year, we have a lot of activities in definition of the specific framework for the well-being and the health in the building. I want to say to you that the next 4th of November, there will be a global event where the World Building Council will present this framework related to the health and well-being in buildings. So who of you want to participate could go to the web page of the World Building Council and register for the event. And you can see there will be a lot of activities related to the case study library or the air quality in the built environment campaign, so the Plant a Sensor campaign that will go ahead, that continues for next years. That's the roadmap of this project, but we are also involved in a very big project about the climate action that is advancing net zero, with the objective to promote the net zero carbon emission for all new buildings at 2050, and starting from 2030, all the new buildings must operate at net zero carbon, and at 2050, all the built environment must be at the net zero with net zero carbon emission. It's a very big project that involve also a lot of GBC. We are at the moment collecting a lot of case study across all the world. The project started last years exactly, and we for all of you that are interested to understand how show the best experience of some buildings, some technologies that represent a building with net zero emission or net zero energy, could refer to the WorldGBC and obviously also the European Regional Network of GBC to understand how you can promote some best results, some best case study. That's the roadmap of the project, that are strongly related to the Renovation Wave, to the Green Deal, obviously. And as you can see from this roadmap, we have a lot of activities for the 2 next years in terms of commitment, in terms of engagement, different stakeholders, public stakeholders, but also organization and also innovating company. And obviously we have a lot of activities that in 2021 and 2022 will give to us a lot of work, that is the net zero certification, try to implement and promote certification that promote the net zero emission carbon for the building. And you can obviously have more information on our website. Those are two big projects that are global projects, but also, as Thomas said before, we, as GBC, World Green Building Council, organize in regional networks that represent network inside different continents. In Europe, we have 27 GBC, and we work on some different kind of project in Europe. We participate at the global project, but for example, we are working a lot of the finance, some green finance project. That's a project that is finished last years and is going ahead with some other related project. And EMAP, that is an energy efficient mortgages action plan project. So a lot of GBC involve. You can see a lot of company, organization that work at this, participate at this project, but inside all these logos you can find a lot of GBC that try to understand how it's possible to make a great connection between green finance and the use of good certification, good green building certification. Another project that go in this direction is smarter, is smart finance for families. You can see also here a lot of GBC that are participating. Is an European project also this. And in the slide, sorry, there are some pictures that are in Italian because is some picture from some documents that we develop by this project. This project, as the project before, tried to give to the finance system a scheme of how you can build a green mortgages and how then you can manage all the different final aspect, but also the technical aspect in order to obtain the great result at the end of in terms of the real green building of a real green building. And obviously with this project we not work only with finance, but we try to work also with the biggest stakeholder that we have, the biggest community, all the people that live and work in different houses, offices, and the buildings. So we try to produce documents and explanation for this kind of person, for all the person of the people that work and live in their house. Another European project that is very important is the life levels. Is a project that try to, and you can see also the GBC, the logo of GBC that are involved in this project. That the aim of the project is to try to incorporate the level indicator. Maybe a lot of us know that the levels is the framework developed by the DG Environment of the European Commission, and is a framework that have inside all the indicator to measure the sustainability of buildings. Is not a rating system, but is a framework that you can use inside a rating system. And our project is the Life Levels project, try to develop the capacity of incorporate the levels indicators into public procurement law in different country and in the different rating system used in different countries. That's another way that the GBCs could help the community to put together all the innovation, all the news in the sector, and try to put inside a way to measure the effectiveness of this innovation inside rating system and the way of the measure the sustainability. Another point is the Building Life campaign. The Building Life campaign is a campaign that we launch in Europe that want to sensibilize all the stakeholders in the importance of the use in the right way the opportunity of the Green Deal inside the building sector. So with this campaign, we try to understand why national governments are embracing a life cycle approach, for example, how developers are mobilizing the value chain of the building sector, and so on. And so that's another very important campaign, because with this, we are trying to improve also with our advocacy capacity. And I said to you something about the global action of GBC, how at the continental dimension we are working, especially at the European levels, but what happened at the national level, where you can contact your GBC. At the national levels, for example, in Italy, from ICAM, you can see we represent, as the World Green Building Council, all the entire chain, the supply chain of the building sector, from the design to the management of a building, pass through the construction and the installation of the different technology. So we represent all the chain, and our mission is exactly the mission of the World Green Building Council. We do all the activities that I showed before that the all GBCs do as World Green Building Council. All these activities are the same activities that we have inside our strategy in the World Green Building Council. And what is the impact that we can obtain at the national level? I just prepare only this slide to show the impact. This is the green building map of Milan that represent the number of green buildings that we have in our cities in Milan. And you can see green building obviously certified by different rating system, not only one. And you can see that the number is very impressive. Some years ago, there was maybe 1 or 2 buildings. In few years, we grow every year more than double. And that's mean that the green building and the certification of green building is a value that the sector start to understand. That's the great point. And not only Milan, but also in Rome, the situation is improving. That's the map of the green building in Rome, and that's we produced this map last years, and we have at the moment quite the double of the building certified. That's very impressive. And so I finish my time, and I hope that I give you some indication and opportunity to that the GBC give to all the sector to make some collaboration, to activate some collaboration. We, all the GBC, share the different experience with our members, but principally we share our experience between us. So all single GBC share experience between other GBC, so we can help each other. And so you can consider GBC as a potential partner for all the innovation project, not also for develop specific activities, but also for communicate the result for the project. And so we can participate to consortium. We know that now we'll start the large Horizon Europe program, so we are ready to participate and collaborate on this. And you can consider, as I said before, the GBC as a subject, as a partner that can promote the adoption of innovation in the building sector. That's my message. I think that I'm sorry for my English. I hope that I was clear enough, and thank another time for your invitation.
Yeah, Marco, your English was perfect. The map is outstanding because people can see that. Regis, you can make Andrea Costa the presenter as well. So the maps are wonderful because people, all stakeholders and officials have requested that map. They're in paper copies. They go around and people can touch, feel, smell, and see, what this building sustainability is. And certification is just a wonderful way to a pathway for innovations, because when you certify, there are points for innovative technologies, and that's what European projects develop. So those stakeholders can get points by deploying your solutions. And in projects at the European level, the ERN will sometimes cluster 3, 4, or 5 GBCs in one project under a central one that has linked third parties. So this can be one way to get pathways to professionals quite well in those types of work packages in European projects. So thank you, Marco. Once again, we'll transition to the next talk, which will be given by Andrea Costa. And R2M was invited to Sustainable Places in 2016 in Savona, and at the time was invited as a keynote to talk about this idea of research to market and how was that vision going to play out, and what did that mean. So we thought it would be interesting because we just had a view of the Milan map, and next year we'll bring Sustainable Places to Milan. So today we'll give an update on this idea of research to market and how results are getting to innovative product and service offerings, and what does that look like in practical terms. And Andrea Costa, he is a founder and managing partner at R2M, and his role in all of this has transitioned a little bit away from the EU side and a whole bunch into the innovative products and working with building stakeholders in these LEED certifications to suggest innovative products and services. So his days are mostly dealing with these committees, these organizations, and these decision makers in and out of Milan for exactly these types of products and services. So I thought it would be very interesting to share his perspectives on that, because it's one of the things that all European projects are trying to do. So Andrea, with that, please take us away. No, Andrea, you're on mute. No sound yet?
Yeah, thanks. Hello,
okay,
everyone, and thanks, Tom, for the introduction. I'm very happy to be back to Sustainable Places. I used to join all the early days editions with the projects that I've been involved in, European projects. And as Tom said, now I'm looking more at the downside, on the impact side of these projects into the market. So the idea today is just to, most of you know R2M for the R part of R2M, for the research and the involvement in projects. Like my idea is just try to show you how we operate on the M side, and what we offer, and in terms of how we connect solution together and what we bring to end clients. So the first slide is just showing our business model, or how we work. So we are structured in this way. We try to work a lot in European projects, and this is a very nice environment where we can find innovative solutions, innovative ideas, which most of you are normally bringing to projects we collaborate with. And the idea is that in all these projects, there are so many opportunities, so many effective products that are, some of them are already robust solutions that can be replicated. And thanks to replicating these existing products and solutions, we can bring new products, new solutions that are developed within projects. We do this, so we have partnerships with quite a few number of technology providers, and we have them in building their local market in countries where we have a footprint. How we bring these solutions to the, let's say, real estate world of the buildings? How do we bring them down to actual real buildings? We offer also sustainability consulting services. So any type of green building certification, but as well, like there are quite a few number of new certifications. You may have not heard of them. So just to point out two of them. One is a wired score. It's coming from UK. It's taking, but it's spreading quite quickly. It's just going to be launched in Italy as well. It's about how well buildings can connect for people that use them, especially office buildings. So people that the tenants that are paying rents, often their problem is to make sure that there is a good connectivity. Now, LEED is certifying how sustainable is their building. With Wired, they can certify how connectable is their building. And another one is a Copilot, which is another European initiative that is focusing very much on the commissioning process. And these allow building owners to certify that their investment into their developments, actually buildings are working in the way they're supposed to. So it's trying to close the performance gap. Given this, as I say, we have a partnership with many technology providers, which I will introduce in a second. We push the markets in the territories where we have a footprint, so mainly Italy, France, Spain, and UK. To do so, we are divided in 4 main divisions, and as Tom mentioned, I'm in charge together with Alessandro on the commercial side. I'm in charge of the technical part of the innovative products, and and this is what we would like to show you today. So how and what are the products we bring, and how we connect them together, and which are the EU projects that we use to find this product, to test them product, and to make us good at applying this product so that we could replicate this further. So this is a group of 8 main solutions. Some of them are European, some of them are even extra European. Like, just to give an example, Brainbox up here is from Canada, but with a technology that we have scouted through like market analysis of a European project, and thanks to this, we managed to establish a partnership and bring this forward. So that's the example. I have broken down this product in 4 main topics, and the idea is to just bring you to each of these topics and give you an highlight and an inspirational idea of what this solution that normally are used and tested in new project, what of the many features and developments tested in new project we have managed to bring to the market, to our clients. So the whole world of digital construction, it's the one pictured in the slide, and we have 3 main solutions, which I will mention in a second. The 3 projects that we have been connecting to these solutions have been all projects either on the performance gap, which are called the project where build to spec, more for the construction side, and hit to gap, more on the operational side, how to close this gap, but as well also on the BIM and how to use the BIM for refurbishment. So these are the 3 main projects. So the third project is BIM for rent. How did we bring them to the market and what we do? So Zutec, it's a cloud-based platform for document management used in the different phases of the building life cycle. The next one is BIM Collab, that allows to manage BIM models throughout the phase. So now the challenge is that everybody is starting to work in BIM. We have many BIM models for a given project. We need to connect them together and see if there are issues with them, and we need to check clashes of objects against each other, or we need to check parameters of single objects to make use of them. And normally when things are not working, there are issues, and these issues normally are not yet used in a collaborative platform. BIM Collab helps to do this. The last one is Matterport. It's a 3D scanning technology that allows to make 3D virtual tours, but spatial models that can help the whole process in the different stages. We'll see in a moment. These 3 technologies, of course, they are all they can all integrated. And so the added value of research to market is not only to scout these technologies on the research landscape and collaborate with them in EU projects, but you also find ways to connect them even beyond research projects, because we really are connecting them to solve clients' issues and bring innovation forward. And to this, as Tom mentioned, is not only about the products, but it's also about services that we use to collate and connect the dots between products. So, of course, there is the whole 3D reconstruction for the outdoor part, which we use drones for. So this is an example. So the digital construction service starts from 3D reconstruction. So we use a drone for the outdoor. For the indoor, we deeply use 3D scanning technology. Matterport is a solution that is made of a camera, which is this Pro 2 camera, and a cloud service that takes the scans and embed them together in 3D models. The Matterport camera can also use a laser scanner like a Leica, or 3D, more like a cheap camera. So just to give you an idea, a Matterport Pro 2 would cost around 3,000 euro, a Leica laser scanner would cost around 15,000 euro, and a 360 camera would cost around 400, 500 euros. So these 3 type of hardware devices, they have different level of accuracy, but they have then 4 different use cases that are useful. In the scanning process, so you need to be fast and go on site to generate your 3D models. So that's what you do, and you basically end up having a model, which we'll see in a moment, that can be used in the different stages of the building life cycle. So the idea is that once you have a model, in the top left here, you can see how when the building is finished, you can promote it, and this is how the model would look like. And while you are constructing, on the bottom right here, you can have also a scan model for during construction that allows you not to have only some pictures, but to actually see how the models are going. And to each have one navigable model that is interrogable, so you can take measures, and it's available and generates, for example, 2D drawings automatically for any critical phase of the construction. So if any problem of liability issues come up afterwards, you have the model and you can just find the issues, even for maintenance purposes. And the idea of digital construction is to make to take these products not only to do fancy models, but to make them useful. So the idea is that for a given site, this is an example of a LEED certified building in Milan city center, where we have done all the critical phases of the construction of this construction site. And by doing the model for each one of them, we were able to assess the progress. So here you see like a two-point of view with the different phases. And for each one of them, we had a model, a 3D mappable model. And these models can also generate point clouds. And these point clouds can also help us in projects where there is no BIM and where you still have to start with a project. We generate these point clouds and we do what we call the scan to BIM to set up the generation of these BIM models. So this is an example of a shopping center that we've been working on in Bologna, where we basically, the client had to deliver the as-built BIM model, starting from our refurbishment projects where the BIM was not available, where the as-built drawings were out of date because the building has been touched in many times in the last 30 years. So what we did was going to the site every time that the constructor was removing the suspended ceiling, making a scan, and then set up this as-built drawing, starting from the design made in BIM already, and the point cloud of the current system. This is one option. So you don't have the BIM, you need to deliver the BIM. The other option is you have the BIM and you want to assess that your construction, your point cloud of what you're actually building, it just overlaps with actual reference BIM models, so that you can see how precise is your people in setting up building their, for example, ducting, so that you can assess and find out about errors well in advance before having finished the whole suspended ceiling and finding out that the drill for the supply air doesn't fit because there is not enough room, because the ductwork was not placed in the way it was supposed to be. So that's about the, let's say, the scanning and the BIM part. On the other hand, as I said, construction is a lot of documents. So through Zutec, we help people and clients to connect all the documents that they are exchanging during construction between them, have a central overview of what's going on in terms of construction, and use for these apps that they can be used on site to collect information and deliver results. And we connect all these documents to BIM objects. So I can click on a BIM object and see all the documents that were connected to this air handling unit and so on. So the idea is that in this way, we support the process of enriching the BIM model throughout construction and make it available during the operation and maintenance phase. So really going for full digital construction up to the dimensions of facility management. And all this BIM interconnection is quite useful in the platform, because you can we normally allow users to and clients to connect statuses and documents to each single object in the building. On this, of course, for using BIM in the operation and maintenance phase, it's quite important to make sure not only that there are no clashes, and for this, as I say, we use BIM Collab, but also to verify that each single parameters associated to each single BIM object is appropriately set. And this is also a way that we identify parameters. And as I said, there is not always a BIM model for a project, and there is not always the need to do it. So if we cannot do it, we can simply link the document management platform to the 3D virtual model, which we do with Matterport. And so we connect documents and all the maintenance activities to each single object of this 3D model, which is quickly built and yeah, useful if you don't need to do any further design. So this closes up the first section of the presentation on digital construction. I just move forward on modeling, commissioning, and operation, more with a focus on energy. So we have a bunch of projects here, E2GAP, then a couple of projects on demand response and interfacing with building management system, Tabede, and Dr. Bob, and then as well the, let's say, digital aspects at the larger scale of making demand response available or net positive energy district with React and City Exchange. Across this project, we identified the three solutions that I will mention, and which we are actually applying to clients in Italy. So we can see IES, a digital construction platform for the digital twin, not only a modeling environment. So the idea is to expand the modeling that is normally done during design with a really detailed model, which is done through the virtual environment, but extending it in two directions. One is the scale, so not only a building but multiple buildings, so easily connect to GIS data and generate energy models at the portfolio or at the city scale. And through this setup for new developments, quick models that can allow the development of actual and net positive energy districts. Or on the other hand, in terms of expansion, there is also the expansion on the actual monitor data. So normally building simulations we used only during design. Through these technologies, we can apply it during operation, and we can integrate it and optimize the exchange of energy among buildings in a network of buildings, and support the demand response of the smart grid concepts. So building, they don't, as I say, they don't only need to be designed properly, but they need to be operated properly. So you need a building management system that works quite well. And to assess this, we use this German product, which is called Synavision. They are also quite active on the European projects, like many of the partners I've mentioned. And through this, their performance bench test, the idea is that they can quickly set up, and this is an example of the Munich airport, set up the digital twin of the building management system, and then by crystallizing the logics that are supposed to be followed by the digital twin of the BMS, they can set up with automated dashboards or fault detection activity. So this ensures that buildings are operating in the way they are supposed to. And through this, they have also worked, since we are talking about European level, with REVA to set up a quality management guideline for buildings that ended up in a new certification scheme, which I mentioned at the beginning, which is the co-pilot certification, which is a really European-wide initiative. Last thing is you want BMS to operate well, but if you want to go further, you can use artificial intelligence to basically learn from your building and start to operate the building management system in an autonomous way, like Google is doing for autonomous car, and set up this. The idea is that you can use a deep learning algorithm to learn how your building is performing and optimize the actual control of each single controllers in the building through a technology that is AI based. So these are the three steps. With Brainbox, we are helping several clients in Italy. It's just launched, but there is a huge interest in terms of having a solution that doesn't require any hardware installation. It's just 3 hours of setup. There is only one piece of hardware to be installed. It uses all the infrastructure of the BMS, and through this, in 8 weeks, you can learn how the system is operating and how the building is operated and used by users. And then you just start from month 3, the 9th week, to use the autopilot and use this, and with a very impressive results. So up to 25% of total energy cost reduction, 20 to 40% in carbon footprint, and as well occupant improvement in terms of being in the bandwidth of comfort domain. Last 2 blocks. So we move away from, we still are in energy, but we talk about architecture and energy. You may have heard, and there was a very nice workshop on building integrated photovoltaic during the Sustainable Places the first days. And yeah, so we met Onyx through PV sites, one project on these aspects. And we have been working on prefab solutions and intelligent solution for building envelope in other 2 projects for renew and energy matching. Onyx is just changing the paradigm. So far we're used to talk about PV panels. With Onyx, we talk about PV glass. With glass, with many different applications for facades, opaque and transparent, for roofs and parapets, but also for skylights and brise solaires or pavements. So also for the outdoor. And this is actually kind of challenging. In Milan we have premiums for PV, but there is no space to put any more PVs. So through this we have in development the first square to be BIPV with BIPV flooring in the world, and this is going to come up. So stay tuned for this, and we are very excited about that. Very last section, it's about resiliency, nature-based solutions and resiliency. So this is a solution from Austria, Greenpass. You may have heard of it. We met them through the Nature for Cities project, which is still acting and approaching the end. And we have used them in the Green CERT and other projects where we are looking at the city level scale. So Greenpass, it allows to digitalize your greenery in a project and assess the impacts under a number of indicators that, in a nutshell, help you to consider air pollution, urban heat island effect, the issue of rainwater management and floodings with rainwater bombing with the new climate, and the biodiversity indexes. So all this is done by digitalizing, again, digitalization, another keyword, digitalizing your projects. And by digitalizing your project, I show you now an example of Milan City Life District, where there was the development for the fourth tower, where this is what we used in Milan for this consortium to help them in their competition phase to consider all these indexes and all these issues related, for example, to wind speed or outdoor comfort in the space, which is something that is now required by building regulation, not at this level of detail, but through this software solution, we can really increase by far the quality of our projects and the level of happiness of our clients. So that's it. I know I have bombarded you with many different angles. So grazie mille to everyone, and for the invitation. I'll be happy to discuss to you further and find with you new solutions and the new ways to bring your new solutions to our clients in Italy, which are demanding for it. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Andrea, and also France and Spain. And the backside of research can be very exciting. I can't credit enough the work Andrea has done and the hours put in to bring some of those products and services to market. It is not easy, and anyone that has worked on commercializing research, you know that directly. So just an outstanding job. And Regis, if you could make Pau the presenter now. So thanks once again, Andrea, and I appreciate the intervention. Our next speaker will be Pau Garcia, and he will be presenting to us the Renovation Wave with some information on the newly launched new European Bauhaus. And he is a policy officer with the Energy Efficiency Unit, Buildings and Products at the European Commission. And Pau, thanks so much for being with us today. His camera is not working, so he will not be on display, and I'll turn my camera off. And with that, Pau, please take us away.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I know you can't see me, but trust me, it's not much of a loss. Thank you very much for the invitation today at the Sustainable Places 2020. Thanks a lot to the organizers also for organizing an event which is very difficult in these days of quarantine and lockdown, and not being able to organize face-to-face events. So thank you very much to everybody. They've asked me to explain what is this Bauhaus initiative, and also what is this Renovation Wave, because both of them are very, very, very interlinked. I am aware that probably some of you have already heard about the Renovation Wave. You may have also seen some of these presentations. You may already know some of the details, so excuse me if I'm sounding repetitive. But at the same time, I cannot stress enough the importance of renovating buildings in the coming years. And that's actually a bit the beginning of my presentation, explaining why do we need renovation. So you probably have heard many times that 40% of the energy consumption comes from buildings, 36% of greenhouse gas emissions also come from buildings. The issue is that about 85% of the building stock is over 20 years old, which means that it was built before there was any type of overall energy performance regulation in most EU member states. There were some regulations about insulations or about the performance of boilers or emissions of boilers, but there was very, very little in the sense of something comprehensive that takes into account the overall performance of the building. And the first time we looked into it was in 2002 with the adoption of the first Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. As a result of this improving legislation on energy performance in buildings, we know now that a new building today, just constructed now, consumes less than half of the energy of an equivalent building built at the end of, by the year 2000. So it is a very significant difference, and this difference is even more evident when you start looking at existing buildings. We also have an additional problem, which is that a very substantial proportion of the EU population, about 34 million people, live in conditions of energy poverty. That is, people that they either cannot heat their house properly, or that they cannot cool their house properly, which is, believe it or not, starting to be a problem in southern member states. In order to reach the objectives by 2030, we have to renovate buildings, and also, sorry, not just 2030, but even for 2050. And this represents about 275 billion investment gap just to reach the additional objectives by 2030. And then it brings me to the last point of why do we put so much emphasis on renovation, and it links also to the fact of the current situation in terms of Corona and pandemic and economic crisis. The fact is that the construction industry, by its nature, tends to be very, very local. Most of the companies involved in the sector are small or medium enterprise companies. A lot of them are micro SMEs, so less than 5 people. And because of the nature of the work, they tend to work at local level. So renovation work brings local jobs. Construction work brings local jobs. Also, a lot of the technology that we put in buildings and a lot of the products that we put in buildings are manufactured in the EU. So it brings a lot of local EU added value. It brings economy to the Eurozone and, well, to the EU at large, not just the Eurozone. So we see it as an option or as one of the key aspects that a recovery plan should have to bring us out of the current situation. And this is one of the reasons why building renovation has been included as one of the options in the future economic packages that will help us get out of the recession. So where are we now? Because not very long ago, just a couple of years ago, we adopted the Clean Energy for All Europeans package. That was a very comprehensive set of renovation of reviews of EU legislation. Some of it's still being transposed as we speak right now. So it was a very solid base for energy market integration, renewables deployment, and energy efficiency promotion. It was a very, very important package for us. So you may think, why are we doing this again, even if we were just at the end of 2020? So the issue is that it's double. On the first, on the one hand, we have additional objectives by 2030. We're increasing our ambition from 32.5% energy savings to 55% energy savings. So that's one thing. And the other thing that we've noticed, particularly in the area of building renovation, is that it's not happening fast enough. We estimate that approximately 10 to 11% of the existing building stock undergoes some sort of level of renovation every year. But these renovations works tend to be very superficial and they do not affect the performance of the building. As a result, the current annual calculated energy renovation, the equivalent, so not just the proper renovation works, painting, redecorating, structural works, etc., but the ones that affect the energy performance of the building, it's just about 1%. So why is it that we have so many problems with renovation? Why is it not taking off as it should? If it brings so many added value, if it brings so much added value, So we noticed that there are a number of barriers, some of them legislative, some of them financial, some of them related to skills, for example, that they need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed as a whole in a comprehensive manner. So what is this renovation wave? It's an initiative by the European Commission in the framework of the European Green Deal. That's the legal basis or the administrative basis. It started with a strategic communication, which we published on the 14th of October, so just over 2 weeks ago. And this contains an action plan for the years to come. These actions are very comprehensive, as I think I've already mentioned, and contain actions at all levels, from local, regional, national, and European level. And they also involve the private and the public sector. One thing that it's very, very important to highlight, though, it's a starting point. It's not an end on itself, the communication that we published just over 2 weeks ago. It just really sets the agenda for the coming years. So this is not, it's really the beginning of the end. The renovation wave sets a number of objectives, and the main objective is we want to double the energy renovation rate by 2030 and increase the renovation depth. So rather than small, shallow renovations that message that my audio performance not sorry, that the net not good. So I hope you can still hear me, no problem. So as I was saying, the main objective of the renovation is simply to double the annual renovation rate. I hope you can hear me. If somebody from the organizing team can just send me a message on the chat, I would very much appreciate it.
Yes, Pat, we still hear you.
The objective is to double the energy renovation rate by 2030 and increase the renovation rate. This will generate a number of greenhouse gas emissions, 60%. It will reduce energy consumption. It will create jobs, and it will generate investment. And what it means in practice is also we need to renovate about 35 million building units by 2030. Which is not insignificant. We also need to change the way in the way we think about building renovation. So it's not just about renovating buildings like the way we've been doing it until now. There are several aspects that need to be taken into consideration in these renovations, in these processes. First of all, we are talking about climate neutral buildings. We really need to reduce the CO2 emissions of these buildings, but we also need to reduce the pressure for natural resources and greenfield construction. So we need to think about the life cycle aspect of the whole building, what we're putting in terms of materials into these buildings. We also need to think in terms of smart and healthy buildings for better lives, especially right now in the middle of this pandemic, where a lot of us are spending the vast majority of our time in our homes. We need buildings that help us stay healthy and save energy. So some of the aspects that we need to take into account, for example, is ventilation rate, ensure that the buildings are properly ventilated. We also need to make sure that we take out harmful products from buildings like lead or asbestos, because many of our existing buildings still have some of these materials installed in them. And we also really need to connect these buildings to smart grids, not just smart electricity grids, not just smart heating or cooling district networks, but we need to think of buildings as part of the overall energy grid. Because, for example, we can also use the buildings to charge electric vehicles, be it cars or be it bicycles. We can use to compensate for peaks or troughs on energy consumption or production. And that brings me to the last point of the energy renovation, which is we need to start thinking not just about individual buildings, but really about a building that is integrated in the neighborhood and the community. And purely not just at the energy level, but also, for example, as part of the mobility, as part of a greener space. Oops, sorry, I went back too many. I went forward too many slides. So now not just talking about the individual renovations, but also about the process of renovations, there are a few aspects that we need to take into account. The first of all, as I have mentioned, is energy efficiency. Another one is affordability. We need to make sure that these renovations are affordable. As I mentioned already, there are 35 million people that are struggling to heat their home, to warm up their homes. So asking them to do a renovation, it's something on top of. If they are already struggling to warm them up, it's much more difficult for them to actually pay for a renovation. We need to think in terms of climate neutrality and digital transitions. We need to think in terms of life cycle and circularity. What are we putting in these buildings? We need to think especially in terms of health and environmental standards. This is something, for example, where the levels assessment framework can bring a lot. And finally, we need to bring a lot of high architectural quality. And this will bring me to the Bauhaus Institute in a few slides. There, I would like to say I don't quite like the word architectural, because as soon as we say architectural, we tend to think in terms of the looks of the building, or the structure, or the distribution of the building. And what we're really talking here is about the building needs to be fit for purpose. It needs to look good. It needs to be useful for what it's supposed to do. It needs to be healthy. It needs to be efficient. And it needs to do all of this at the cost that it's supposed to be doing it. So think in terms of overall quality, not just on how the building looks, which is also important, but it's not the only thing. So what is the Renovation Wave going to do about this? What specific actions does it aim to deal with? So it mainly deals in what we call seven intervention areas, and we'll give some examples of what they mean in the next slide. But basically, the Renovation Wave sets a series of actions at many levels. One of them is that we need to provide information and legal certainty and a stable regulatory framework. So we are going to revise, for example, we are going to do a targeted revision of the EPBD, but we should also look at how local and regional regulations affect the building renovation process. We need to be able to provide accessible and when-targeted funding, not just for the renovation process itself, but also for example, the development of new technologies, something that you've been looking in these last few days. We need to project and technical assistance to make sure that this available funding can actually reach the objectives and do what it's supposed to do on the ground. It's not always, the solution is not always to just throw money at the market and hope that it will do something with it. Unless we provide the tools that go alongside this additional funding, it will not work. We also need to provide integrated interventions for smart buildings. So we need to make sure that this renovation process is not just renovation, but it's also modernization of buildings. We need to have a construction sector that is prepared for the sustainable future. And this doesn't mean just developing new products, but it also means developing skills and making sure that we have the right tools for making sure that it works. For example, the levels assessment framework. I mentioned already the issue of energy poverty and healthy housing, and finally we have the element of decarbonization of heating and cooling. So we need to change the way we heat and warm our homes. And I realize I should go a bit faster because I'm spending a lot of time. So very quickly, a few examples of what we are planning to do. So for example, in information and incentives and the regulatory framework, we are going to make a proposal for minimum energy performance standards. So what level of minimum energy performance should buildings have at the very least? Whether they should be updated, whether they should be public or private buildings, it is still to be seen. We are going to develop this proposal in the next years. We also see, for example, that we really need to develop the way we work with energy performance certificates and audits to make them much more effective. And I mentioned, for example, we're going to put a lot more money on funding, direct funding, but also on technical assistance and one-stop shops. Right. I'm going to skip this. Sorry, not this slide. It's the next one. So in focus area, I just wanted to highlight very quickly. We we are highlighting three what we call focus areas. These are public buildings, energy poverty, and heating and cooling. These are areas where we are going to put an extra focus, because not because we think that they are more important than other areas, but because we think they have the potential to trigger a renovation. So as I said, they are not more important. It's just that they can kickstart the process. So, for example, for public buildings, these are buildings that are generally centrally managed by either governments, central governments, or by municipalities or regions. So they have plans to renovate them. They have facilities management in place, and they control the budget, more or less, that goes into these buildings. So it is easier to ask with these buildings, and from there the workforce develops the right skills. Technological advances can start being tested and see, oh yes, this works. We can multiply this. So we are looking for this multiplier effect, and the same goes for energy poverty and heating and cooling. So I think actually a lot of you have seen this slide presented by my colleague Margot Pinot. What I wanted to highlight here is just that is not only the fact that we are going to make much more money available for renovation. So it's not just about direct investments or leverage of private investments. We're also going to support a lot what is research innovation, addressing market barriers, and providing technical assistance. Specifically when we talk with banks, but also when we talk with public authorities, they keep asking us for more and more technical assistance, because that's what makes a big difference for them on the ground, and what helps them make sure that this available money and these ideas that they have can actually be successful. So how does the Bauhaus initiative fit in all of this? And first of all, it has nothing to do with the English rock band from the 1970s. I was a bit confused the first time I saw it. It is actually inspired by the Bauhaus art school of the beginning of the 20th century in Germany. So we have to do a lot of renovations. We have approximately 220 million buildings to renovate by 2050 if we want to decarbonize the building stock and Europe at the same time. So it's pretty much an industrial process, and we need to make sure that it's successful. And in order to make sure that it's successful, we also need to make it look good. We have a lot of wealth in the building stock at EU level, not just because there is a lot of money invested in it, or because of the value of the real estate. There is a lot of value at a cultural level, and we need to make sure that we maintain these. So what this Bauhaus initiative is aiming to do is to bridge the wall between the science and technology and the world of art and culture. There is a lot of links that we can build between the two of them, especially at the architectural level and at the construction level, because a lot of the times when we buy a house, or when somebody is constructing a new house or a new building, this visual aspect is very important. Sorry, not this visual aspect, this art aspect or this design aspect. So we need to combine this good design and sustainability with within the renovation process. And we have to demonstrate that the necessary, which is something we have to do, we have to renovate these 220 million buildings, can also be beautiful. So what this Bauhaus initiative is going to be, it's a forum, it's a laboratory, an accelerator, a meeting place of different professionals. It's going to be developed in 3 stages. So the first stage is going to be the design stage, where we want to gather designers, architects, artists, experts, digital experts, scientists, entrepreneurs, engineers, students, etc. Everybody that is involved in the construction process. And we want to gather these people until the summer 2021 in order to co-create this process. We want them to be involved in the definition and shaping of this movement. So we're asking people to join us and helping us develop this process. What is clear is that we need to have a commitment to people, sustainability, and innovation. So it's not just an initiative on its own, it's an initiative to deliver the renovation wave, but also all the elements that come with the renovation wave. The second stage is the delivery, and there's going to be a call for proposals under the next multi-annual financial framework, aiming towards the second half of 2021, and we're aiming to have 5 new European Bauhaus projects in different member states. And finally, we are going to have the diffuse phase, which is basically the dissemination phase, where we make sure that the lessons learned and the process developed under these European Bauhaus projects are disseminated throughout Europe and throughout the construction industry. I cannot give more details right now about this initiative because it's largely under development. As I mentioned, we are starting to develop this co-creation process until the summer of 2021. So it is really, we are only really just starting to think about it and how we can do this. And for this, we need the participation of professionals in the building industry. At the same time, I cannot even tell you how this participation is going to work because we are starting to think about it. But I would like to ask you to keep an eye on what we're publishing from DG Energy, because this will come soon, and then we will really start asking for your participation. And with this, I think I've gone well over my allocated time, so I'm going to stop here and say thank you very much, and leave you for the rest of the session.
Muted, Tom.
Thank you, Zia. Thank you, Pau, for the intervention. Very welcome, and especially interesting to hear that we may have the opportunity to participate in the shaping of the Bauhaus and those sessions coming up. So of course we'll look forward to anytime we can get information about those. I'm going to share my screen now, and we'll move on to the next section. Zia, let me ask you, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, but not in presentation mode.
Yeah, okay. Coming up. Okay, Zia, let me know now. Do you see in full screen presentation mode?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then we're off to the races. We're maybe a little bit behind schedule, but we're fine. In 45 minutes, we can get this done. So now what we're going to do is we have 9 workshops that wanted to come in during the closing ceremony and tell us a little bit about how their workshop went. And let me just ask, Max or Mohi, we weren't sure if they were going to be able to make it into the closing session. They were trying. Are you here? 5, 4, 3, 2.
I don't see them in the panelist tab, so I would suggest to go on another one, and I'll try to
Sure. Yeah, they asked me just to show this if possible. So the if they couldn't make it, so the SDIA, they had a thematic track across the entire event, which was really interesting. And for many people like me, I was tied up in other workshops and I couldn't follow this. So it will be these recordings made available on our webpage. And they did want to highlight that they had launched at Sustainable Places their roadmap on how to attain the sustainable digital infrastructure that they envision and the entire purpose of the alliance that they make. And what's exciting about them, if you saw the post they made on social media, LinkedIn, and in their speakers, is their network is just incredible. They're a young association, they're open to membership, and the people they bring together are very, very interesting, very interesting. So I'd encourage anyone working in this field to be involved and to check out what they did and are doing. So then we'll move into the next workshop, which is the workshop on integrated home renovation services. Sylvia will be presenting that from Technalia. Sylvia, please.
Yeah, Margot is going to present this one.
Yes,
I'm sorry. I won't even try anymore. Thank you. Margot, please. That's right.
Okay. Okay, hello everyone. It's a pleasure for me to present the key takeaways on this workshop on integrated home renovation services. So the motivation behind this workshop is that there is a need to at least double the renovation rate of the European building stock, which is now around 1%, as stated in the Renovation Wave strategy of the European Commission. So with this need, the renovation process is also very complex for homeowners due to the lack of information on existing solutions, lack of services to coordinate all required market actors. So this workshop aimed to gather several European projects aiming to develop integrated home renovation services in Europe to simplify the renovation process. So how? By actually covering the whole customer journey and providing technological and social diagnosis, technological offer, contracting of works, financing advice, and the monitoring of works and quality assurance. So next slide, please. So 6 H2020 projects were presented. All at different stages and covering different geographic areas in Europe. I won't go through all of them, but you can check them out later. So we can already go to the next slide, please. Okay, so now I'd like to show you the outcomes of the workshop with this really great graphic recording, which was made by Julia from the project Happen. So in this workshop, it was discussed that one-stop shops are a key tool to trigger renovations for buildings, and are in line with the Renovation Wave strategy of the European Commission, as they aim to break down existing barriers throughout the renovation chain. So, but in order to actually implement such one-stop shops, it was discussed that a community of supporting partners is key, but that also one-stop shop should provide financing solutions to homeowners and should also have a physical office. It is important to actually have a physical office, but it's also very crucial to have a digital access for that one-stop shop, especially during these COVID times. So those are the key takeaways. I could say a bit more on this. Thank you all for your attention. There's maybe just another slide. So if you're interested, please feel free to reach out. And thanks a lot. I think I didn't go over the time.
No, you did perfect, Margot.
Thanks.
And now I think we'll have Sylvia. I apologize that before for the Sustainable Housing Supporting Health and Wellbeing workshop wrap up.
Hello, good morning to everyone. Well, we have just finished our workshop like 2 hours ago, so I didn't have the option to do such a good job as Margot, but well, I will tell you more or less. Our workshop was Sustainable Housing Supporting Health and Wellbeing, although perhaps we should talk about sustainable living environments supporting health and well-being. And we had the opportunity to hear from 8 different European projects funded by different European programs. And we have also the participation of European Commission Policy Officer Irina Calderon. Well, the projects that were presented were focused on different issues. One of them were more focused on policy making, like aging and the network of the cost action Net for AIDS, and also SAFE project. Other ones were more specifically focused on health issues like tender, on smart work. that was quite innovative approach to how smart places should be for people that is getting older. And we also had a Pharaon project that wants to keep the aging population independent for longer living at their own home, combining house adaptation and local ecosystem for aging population. Another one, the one that we are from Tecnalia coordinating, is Homes for Life, that is focused on the development of a certification scheme. And then we also had the last ones were more like a holistic approach to the, let's say, to the built environments, healthy built environments. So in the end, I think that the main outcome, it was that it needs an integrated and holistic approach, that sustainable living environments are relevant for all citizens and have a tremendous influence on our health and well-being, our social interactions, and our capacity to participate in community life. And also we found the definition of sustainability and what is social sustainability. And social sustainability occurs when the formal and informal processes, systems, structures, and relationships actively support the capacity of current and future generations to create healthy and livable communities. And I think that that's one of our aims of all of us. So, well, that was in 2 minutes what we have been talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvia. Perfect and perfectly on time. Great. Next workshop is the Sustainable Mobility E-Mobility Workshop that was chaired by the Meister Project. And Patricia Belver is the coordinator of that project and will talk to us about that.
Hello, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here in this event. And now I'm trying to recap and summarize how went the workshop about e-mobility. It was yesterday. We ended at 6 more or less. And we had the opportunity to hear about with Meister 5 European projects related to electric mobility. And next slide, please. Yes, the discussion was focused on the digital tools, the services, the approaches that will boost smart electric mobility, covering the European demand. By means of scalable solutions in most of the cases. As I said, the panelists were Meister, Green Charge, USRT, eCharge for drivers, and also the University of Peloponnese representing the Merlon project. The speakers presented the 3 major barriers for the deployment of electric vehicles around Europe that are, as all of you may know, the high cost of vehicles, the low level of customer acceptance, and the lack of recharging infrastructure, and how we can pull them down. Also, the speakers presented on talking about designing, validating, and promoting new approaches, solutions to make it more attractive for operators to install the charging infrastructure, and also for potential customers to use this infrastructure. Next, please. And the conclusions were several of them. We really had an audience that participated a lot and answered to our polls. But here I have just mentioned or highlighted the 3 main conclusions that are the interoperability for charging infrastructure is also an issue, is a key issue right now, and concerns electric vehicle drivers all around Europe. Charging experience of the user should be improved. This is true and is an objective of almost all the electromobility projects around Europe. Also, charging policies based on price incentives and constraints can be used to reshape the power load profiles of the vehicles. So these are the main conclusions. I think it was really a productive workshop yesterday. Thank you to all the panelists and attendees.
Great, and thank you, Patricia.
You're welcome.
The next workshop will be the Sustainable Digital Tools for All Energy Actors, coordinated by the XFlex project, and I think that will be presented by Lola Garcia.
Yeah, my colleague Lola it has to come out of the office, and she asked me to present the slides. So
okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, this project has been coordinated by ETRA and also the workshop, of course. These are the partners of XFlex project that has been financed by European Commission. Sorry. Next slide. And regarding the sustainable digital tools for all energy actors workshops, the conclusions are as follows. Next. The motivation of this workshop was the digitalization that is helping to improve the safety, productivity, accessibility, and sustainability of energy systems around Europe. The 5 European projects, H2020 projects presented during the workshop were XFlex, FlexCube, Holister, Synergy, and FlexGrid. And they presented a set of complementary tools, digital tools, to provide ICT services and functionalities to all the energy actors and to create more connected and intelligent, efficient, and sustainable European energy ecosystem. Next. And the conclusions, sorry, the conclusions are these two, that the 5 projects were different but had complementary approaches. They have shown the best way to enable all the energy actors to control and manage their part of the grid and actively participate in the energy market. And the end users of these tools are citizens, cooperatives, DSOs, TSOs, market operators, etc., with the aim to create all-win situation, building a greener and more livable Europe. Thank you very much to all the attendees and, of course, to the panelists of this workshop as well.
Great, and thank you once again, Patricia.
You're welcome.
Great. Next, we have the Flexibility 2.0 workshop, demand response in buildings, involving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 EU projects, and that was chaired by the Tabide project, and Zia Leonard will present the workshop conclusions.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, flexibility it's a real cross-cutting issue. It touches everything, no matter the building type, the user profile, the level of scale, whether it's one building or many. And so in this conference alone, we've seen numerous approaches to flexibility. This workshop showed 8 of them. And on this first slide are some common themes. So all of the projects use artificial intelligence, likely a multi-agent system or a multi-stakeholder approach to show the demand response, and the forecasting or negotiation algorithms being employed. And yeah, the grid simulations are a tool that all of these projects use to scale up, because the demonstrations are typically in one building and we have to show that it's scalable and replicable. So there are really cool simulations and demonstrations that are part of the video recording. Each project briefed their use cases, some of them their business cases as well, to show how they optimize the loads using algorithms. There was a really good market analysis that showed the current status of several EU countries and how that's leading to smart energy districts in the LV grid and even beyond in the transmission level. And the key word obviously is interoperability. We all have these devices, whether they're new or old, they have to be able to connect and become smart or flexible in some way, excuse me. And the best way to do that is through demand response, as we all know. So there's implicit, which is also called price-based, or explicit, which is also called incentive-based. And these are just common schemes that people are using more and more these days through technologies to either save a little bit of money or help the energy system as a whole become more stable and smart. So we can go to the next slide, please. Here on this slide, I wanted to show some of the unique themes as opposed to the common theme, the unique aspects. So eBalance Plus focuses more on the DSO-TSO interaction, so distribution and transmission. And they have this negotiation management unit concept, which is very interesting. eDream and eDelta use blockchain. They use smart contracts and virtual nodes to provide access to small and medium-sized customers for critical events or resource-intensive tasks. Tabete is one of the only projects that showcased an actual hardware-based solution. Most of them are software-based, open source to start, and then the commercialization phase will, unlock different business models. But Tabete is a hardware box, and it claims to, at TRL7, which isn't plug and play yet, claims to connect 90% of devices, no matter the communication protocol. Then Drive showed a really unique way to simulate using digital twins to scale up, as I said, the demonstrations, the physical demonstrations at a wider district scale. Hollister focused on a co-simulation framework. So they developed a very robust way to simulate many different technologies, whether it's storage or flexible devices, and the user can forecast their own consumption. No matter which actor, they can always see what's available to them. And then finally, Novice and Ambience focuses on the ESCO approach, or the energy performance contracting approach, which is not as easy in residential sectors, and they're focusing on reducing the losses and costs with a very strong focus on the business model side. So the final slide here is for for you to visit later on. The blue are all links. So on the left, they're the project websites, the socials in the middle, and on the right, just some very quick highlights that are coming up, whether they're events or recent publications. And feel free to peruse the websites, and obviously all of the recordings will be available, and everyone is very open to being contacted for collaboration or clarification on any level. So it was a great event, and we thank all of the collaborators for their efforts.
Zia, that's great work making that easy for everybody with all the links there. Thanks for doing that. That's a best practice. Good. Well done. Okay, our next workshop is de-risking energy efficiency investments, and that was chaired by the EE Invest Consortium, and the coordinator is with us here to summarize the workshop, Annalisa Andalora from URAC. Please, Annalisa.
Thanks a lot. So we got together in this workshop, Invest, EEE, and Quest. These three projects already started their collaboration, let's say, almost a year ago. We met together during one of the European Commission organized events, and our first contact was fostered by our project officers, which is really good. So after a year, we thought it was time to come out to the public and show that this collaboration was ongoing. It's really interesting that the three projects were financed under the same call in the same financing period. The call was mainstreaming energy efficiency financing. The three of us, incidentally, are working in three different parts of the value chain. So Quest is assessing energy renovation measures quality under a technical aspect point of view. Invest is assessing the risks associated to those energy renovation measures, and AAA is assessing overall investment quality. So I think there's a really good synergy among the three projects. What we did during the project, the workshop, was to make a step further and establish some common ground for collaboration during project development, because we started approximately a year and a half ago with our project. So at the beginning, it was just an intention to come together, but then this intention is becoming a reality, I would say, and I'm glad to share with you some details. Next one, please. So the main findings or results that I summarized here for you today is the first one is a really impressive one, and it was also mentioned by Pau Garcia a few minutes ago. So we do have only one shot for renovation. This is something we all agreed on. So it's mandatory to abide to the most effective energy standards when we go for renovation, because normally what happens is that once a building undergoes renovation actions, that is going to last for decades. So it's really, really important to hit the target in this one shot that we have today. Second thing is to strengthen all the community of stakeholders around the renovation wave. So renovation engages a lot of target groups, from owners to tenants to developers to all of those subjects involved in the manufacturing and installation industry. So it's really important to be aligned and on the same page, and also to involve those people who will be capable or subject to bring in all the financing that is needed from the private sector. And finally, we agreed to share efforts among projects to use, let's say, leverage on each other thinking and know-how to test our methodologies, to validate our methods, and to foster some systemic thinking. So on my last slide, I will just give you a practical example of what I mean by systemic thinking. Between the INVEST and the QUEST project, we just decided to share a demo case building. I think this really makes sense. So in INVEST, we had this very interesting commercial office building that is undergoing renovation that we in INVEST are assessing under the, let's say, risk evaluation point of view. In QUEST, the project coordinator proposed to collaborate and assess the same building under the energy renovation, let's say, technical quality assessment. I think this is a really relevant example because we are optimizing the data collection effort, which is always a mess. So all of you working in projects know that collecting data is really time consuming, and the Commission is always stressing to leverage on previously collected data. So the deep database is one of those examples. We are initiating a sort of incremental feedback loop among the two methodologies tested in the two projects. And finally, we will try after this first, let's say, demo is implemented to ensure a smooth interaction and data flow between the methodologies in QUEST and INVEST, so that hopefully in a year and a half, they can work together as perfectly shaped puzzle pieces. And that's all from my side. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, very nice example. The another best practice. Well done. Happy to see that. Thank you, Annalisa. The next workshop will be, oops, I went one slide too far. There we go. Will be the workshop that was dedicated to rolling out tools from a specific project, the BIM for EEB project, I think coordinated by Politecnico di Milano, and Cecilia Bolognesi will be presenting the outcomes from that workshop to us. Please.
Hello, everybody. I will be very short. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What is BIM for EEB? It is a project supporting the renovation industry in retrofitting existing residential building with a complete BIM-based toolkit. This allows us, with a more efficient flow of information, improve building performance, quality and comfort for inhabitants, and decrease the renovation time. The tool provides support and rapidly shape 3D support for rapidly shape 3D digital models of existing building and integrate semantic data in order to perform integrated advanced evaluation of design options for renovation. Many results of the project include guidelines for BIM implementation and an easy, practical, and operational platform as a central repository of information. If you want to go to the following one, I just added all the images of the tools we are going through and preparing. The main one is the central one, that is the BIM management system, an open and interoperable data management platform that enables information to be gathered from different sources in an internet-based environment throughout the building life cycle. Then we have the other 6 tools, such as BIM Planner tool, that provides a digital environment to share up-to-date information about the plans and site progress operation with all participants of a renovation project. Then we have the BIM CPD tool that stands for BIM Constraint Checking, Performance Analysis and Data Management. The tool is a user-friendly, self-intuitive software suite designed to reduce processing time from constraint checking, and it increases building energy performance knowledge, standardize building energy data, and help users to make informed and better decisions. Autoras supports building services designed to design room automation system as a part of building automation control system with a semi-automated process of a functional requirement survey and the generation of a function block-based design which use standardized symbols to ensure a high comprehension from professionals in different trades. BIM for Occupants is a mobile application that provides residents and or owners with information related to their building renovation activity performed, as well as with personalized information related to their indoor home conditions, comfort preferences, and energy consumption. BIM Easier, a tool that stands for BIM Early Stage Energy Scenario Tool. The tool is designed to support the decision-making process in the early design stage of the renovation process. And BIM for AB Fast Mapping Toolkit that incorporates a range of new tools developed to speed up the scan to BIM process and to improve the data visualization of an existing building by using augmented reality. With all these tools, we are checking three important building sites that are our site in our demo site in the project. I can see you. Okay, our demo site in our project. We are testing all the tools and we are in the middle of our path. We hope for the end of the project to have everything set up and ready for the future. If you want to know more, the following one is our website, our links, and the partners. We are more than 10 partners all over Europe. So thank you for your attention. Thank you.
And thank you, Cecilia. One question, each of those images was its own product or tool in the project, and they're complete brochures or PDFs, but of course
it's our communication project, and they are in our website, and they are also in the workshop we did yesterday. But we can share with everybody. They are not yet in the website because we have to locate them, but you'll find it in our press release.
That's great. Okay, that's what I wanted to tease out, was that there's a lot of information on those, and if I'm in the BIM community, I probably want to download those so I can find them there. Great, thank you so much.
Links and everything in there. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Okay, next we have the workshop on renewable heating and cooling solutions for buildings and industry. And this workshop was the largest workshop in terms of participating projects. And Andrea Fresica from CNR will present us the highlights from this workshop.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, for the introduction. Yeah, indeed, it was challenging to organize this workshop. As you may see, we had 15 projects presenting here. So then together with Regis, we decided to cluster this workshop in 4 sub-clustering to try to make, let's say, easier and more effective the discussion. So we decided to have basically clustering depending on the topic of the activities as well as on the TRL level of the project presented. So if you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, the first cluster was about renewable heating and cooling for industrial application. Actually, in this case, we had 3 projects presented, HiCool and Ship2Fair, which are 2 innovation actions that are, let's say, already in the second half of their path. And they presented really interesting first examples of integration of the technologies inside in real industrial places, especially for agri-food application. While the third one, Friendship, is quite a recent project, which is a research and innovation action. So it's really developing new technologies, new approaches, and yeah, is also aiming at developing a new brief, which are these documents specific for industrial processes, trying to promote solar heat, especially for industrial application. And the main notes, because for each cluster we had then 15 minutes of question and answer session to discuss among the presenters and also with the attendees. And what was clear, especially from high cool and ship to fair, which are, let's say, more higher TRL, is that we need to promote renewable heating and cooling as feasible solution for industrial application, especially considering that most of the time the industrial owner just cares about the securing their process, securing their manufacturing process. So they really want to have technologies that are reliable, easy to install, and of course highly efficient. And on the efficiency, of course, both the demo activities with this innovation action as well as the new research innovation action will help in increasing this efficiency of these technologies. So if you go to the next one, it was about a storage solution to support renewable heating and cooling, especially for building sector. In this case, we were, of course, mainly focusing on thermal energy storage technologies. And all the 4 projects are research and innovation, so let's say TRL 4 to 5, and are really aiming at developing novel technologies for storage in buildings, both, let's say, daily storage and seasonal storages. What was clear from the presentation is that there are some overlapping among the projects, so there are some common topics, of course, and what is probably needed and what we want to promote in the coming years is to try to increase the collaboration among these projects, because sometimes it is, let's say, a pity not sharing enough data, not let's say defining common key performance indicators, because at the end what is important to bring these technologies closer to the market is that they can be really understandable by the common people. And this is also why we highlighted that it is really important to promote the social acceptance of these technologies, because we know that they are quite impacting, especially in terms of space requirements and technology complexity sometimes. So it's really needed to confirm with the people that this can be installed in the future in our houses. And if you go to the third one, it was about innovative solution for renewable heating and cooling deployment in buildings. So it was specifically dedicated to generation processes from renewable, but still at low TRL. So we had 4 projects presenting activities in novel concepts for example, heat pumpings or micro ORC, and again, thermal energy storage, of course, and sometimes also something related to solar thermal technologies. And one of the points that was discussed, actually it was discussed more or less in all the clusters, was that this digitalization will be for sure needed to bring these technologies together in a, let's say, close package to be sold on the market. And it is really important to find the best way to include the digital approach and innovative controls to make these technologies working together. And for example, one example was that digitalization is for sure needed to supporting EPC adoption. But nevertheless, it is clear that still, that's why these projects are ongoing, still some technologies needs to be improved and adapted for application, especially from the efficiency point of view and the interaction of each single technology. So that's why these projects are focusing a lot on, let's say, increasing the number of renewable technologies for buildings. And the last one, it was, let's say, again, the renewable heating and cooling in buildings, but in this case, mostly focused on demonstration actions. So we had, again, 4 projects presenting their activities in demo sites, ranging from geothermal solution up to biomass, solar, and heat pumps. It was really interesting because they shown all the approach in different countries for different technologies. And what is really crucial is that promoting this demonstration action is clearly needed for raise the awareness about the renewable heating and cooling solution, which are still not fully, let's say, known on the market. And on the other side, what is clear is that we really need new design tools and controls to trigger wide development of these technologies. So our idea, to be honest, will be to have a follow-up next year in Milano. So we really hope to convince all the participants this year to have a new workshop next year to further show the updates or the project and collaborate each other. So we hope to meet all together in Milan next year.
Great. Thanks for the plug for Milan. That's great. Thanks, Andrea. Big workshop. Okay, the last workshop, I'll present that one. I was part of the workshop and in the projects involved, is energy transition on European islands. And it was chaired by the Nizoi project, and it involved an additional 5 projects dealing with islands. And the workshop was organized so that the Clean Energy Islands Initiative was presented, and then each of the projects presented for their projects from a different aspect, whether it was integration or interoperability or local renewable energy resources, one on sustainable mobility, and then one focusing more on citizen engagement. So each project focused on a little bit of a different area to give different flavors to the workshop. And then there was a roundtable discussion that tackled 2 questions. 1, how to engage islanders in the energy transition, and 2, how to stimulate islands' long-term energy strategies. So key takeaways from the workshop, we would like to remind everyone that there is a Clean Energy Islands Initiative, that 15 million Europeans do live on 2,400 islands, and the Commission has different ways of supporting islanders' access to clean energy and using these islands as trailblazers for the energy transition and for the smart grid. So there are 3 instruments that you could look up and be involved in. They are the Clean Energy for EU Islands Secretariat, the Clean Energy for Islands Forums, and the European Islands Facility Nizoi, which is a EU project with a cascade funding mechanism that currently has open. So this is the other thing we wanted to make sure everyone was aware of. You'll find it at the project website or on LinkedIn or on Twitter. The first call is open, and it's open until 18 December, and it is looking for applicants to submit their energy transition project on islands, and they can receive 60,000 direct financial contribution plus 60K matching from technical expertise and support in the project. And the job of these calls is to prepare those energy transition projects for investors, and the project aims to mobilize 100 million euro of investment to these projects during the lifespan of the project. So it's a very ambitious project, but a project that certainly aims to meet that ambition. And then the last thing to highlight from the workshop would be this slide, which is a little bit of fun, is the value action gap or deficit hypothesis. And it applies to everything we do in this entire conference. So we're all talking and we're talking about this issue. We're all believers, but at the end of it, we all have to take actions, and people have to take action. So there's a lot of interesting research done on, even though people believe this is important, it's a very small percentage that actually take an action about that. So I put the picture of the masks on the bottom left because we can all see the same thing with the masks now. To get compliance or have people act on that is harder than it may seem. So the value action gap and how we can transition everything from this project, not project, but this conference into actions. Okay, so we've made it to the closing notes. We are perfectly on time to finish at the end of the session. That's excellent. So closing notes, once again, thanks to our supporters of Sustainable Places, the organizers, the sponsors, the media partners, and of course, all of you. Thank you. It's been an incredible event, and to have 600 people come through this digital conference is something we did not expect. So this is a great result. And the projects, the dashboard kind of looks like this. An amazing projects. And when you think of all the information and the work presented over these 4 days, it's quite something. And to make that happen, a big thank you to the staff involved. It's 8 people that are working on the implementation, the organization and implementation, and then the follow-up, and then the reorganization for the next year of this event. So it does take some work. And Regis was essentially the local host this year, most engaged. Zia follows the event all year. Moe handled all the graphics you saw and a lot of the Twitter work. Giuseppe's in the background with this GoToWebinar platform, supporting and making sure all of our sessions are technically up and running in the digital platform. And then in the bottom, we've had Rachel, Augusta, Aileen, and myself supporting some of the workshops to be there to launch them and give technical assistance if anybody gets in trouble. So a big round of applause and thank you to each of these individuals. And you know, this value action gap slide, I showed it also in the opening presentation, but if in case anyone misses it or missed it, you know, we have to remark once again that Regis got the Sustainable Person of the Year award. He was only up against himself because we just invented the award and it's excellent. But the point is he got an electric vehicle, and talk is cheap and actions matter. So I'd mentioned before, I'm still burning gas. I feel guilty about that. So Regis has raised the bar within R2M, the call to electric vehicles. Well done, Regis. And then next year, we really hope for a great event in Milan, where we combine the world that Andrea Costa was presenting today, the real estate investors, the building stakeholders calling for these lead implementation projects, and Milan in some of the literature, the reports being written, is the #1 market for investment over the upcoming 15 years in the real estate sector, and one of the best positioned for and most receptive of innovative technologies. So we still think there's a huge gap between our community, this research community that we have, and the decision makers and stakeholders that we hope adopt the technologies and the results of our projects. So next year we're going to do our best effort to put those two worlds together and have a very nice event where we hope that we will have the opportunity to excite some of these decision makers that we're trying to reach, because when we're in their forums, such as the MIPIM real estate forum, they keep claiming that what they lack most are innovations and new ideas in the renovation and re-energization, urban retrofitting. That's the word I was looking for, the urban retrofit of the urban landscape. So we count on this being a great event. So with that, thanks for a great event. It's been an excellent 4 days. Thanks again to all of our sponsors, our partners, all of the projects, and all of the staff to make that possible, and to everyone still with us on this webinar. So we call it closed. And Regis, before I do that, any final notes that I'm forgetting to mention?
I'm just back now. Thanks everyone, and indeed it was really an amazing edition. Really a lot of people. As you know, in France we are back to lockdown today, and yesterday I was imagining ourselves in Aix-les-Bains, so I think it was indeed a wise choice for this edition to go online. And as Tom said, we really hope to see many of you next year, hopefully also physically. So thanks everyone.
Great, thank you everyone. Bye-bye.